This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
This is absolute tosh.
So Zach Goldsmith is going to be a part of the government as well. You know, the people that are now representing this country, the ones that aren't millionaires, are billionaires. All down-to-earth persons of the people. Meanwhile, I think we're in trouble. Donald Trump slammed France for enacting a 3% tax on the US tech companies like Amazon and Facebook and Google. No! And threatened to tax French wines in return. That's what Donald Trump said. And for those of you who have just woken up from a coma, Donald Trump, that clown off the telly, is the actual president of a real country. What? And that country is the most powerful country in the world. It's worse than that, though, because he also thinks he is the president of Europe and China and Britain, too. And it's worse than that, because the right-wingers in Britain want to leave the EU to supposedly take back control, but seem eager to give over the country to Donald Trump. No war, no shots fired, just meek capitulation to the playground bully. Apparently that is the British way. Not now, not appropriate, later. It's like you just watched Back to the Future and Biff Tannen won.
Oh, no.
So Biff did what Biff does. And he went to his presidential Twitter account and spent the day trolling people like a schoolgirl having a tantrum. He tweeted, "France just put a digital tax on our great American technology companies. If anybody taxes them, it should be their home country, the USA. We will announce a substantial reciprocal action on Macron's foolishness shortly." He really is an idiot, isn't he?
Yes.
He said, "We will announce a substantial reciprocal action on Macron's foolishness shortly. I've always said American wine is better than French wine." Okay, first off, American wine is not better than French wine. And besides, Trump famously doesn't drink, so how would he know? Is it because he's so smart he can tell the quality of something through a sealed glass bottle?
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
And second, the tech giants are getting away with murder. They don't pay taxes anywhere. And it's no business of America if they get taxed a tiny amount in the places that they do business. Is he really that stupid? That he doesn't understand that companies get taxed where they operate, not just in the places that they're based? Or is he relying on his fans to be that stupid?
I love the poorly educated.
And while Trump doesn't drink, he does own a winery in Virginia. He said, "I've always liked American wines better than French wines. Even though I don't drink wine, I just like the way they look." Does he mean he likes the way they look with the name Trump on the label? And that would be a happy coincidence, wouldn't it, by the way, if his trade policy were to benefit him personally by taking out the opposition? How's that for improper use of presidential powers?
Everything that I've done is 100% proper. That's what I do, is I do things proper.
He lied. So French President Emmanuel Macron signed into law a 3% tax on tech companies with a global revenue of $845 million or more, which would apply to companies like Facebook and Google and Amazon. No! Yeah, them. And the French expect to collect $563 million in revenue from its tax per year, which is a sum known in tech company circles as chicken feed. You know how long it takes for Amazon, for instance, on their own, to make that much money? $563 million? Just guess. No, you're way out. It takes 21 hours. And that's not sales, that's profit. 21 hours, they make $563 million. And that's what France is expecting to get in tax for a whole year from Facebook and Google and Amazon and all the rest of them. Amazon could pay it in one day. Did you pay 21 hours worth of your earnings for all of last year?
No.
I'll assume that the answer is in the negative. And do you know what Amazon's tax bill was in the US last year? I mean, talking of Donald Trump saying that the tech companies should pay tax in America. Yeah, I agree with you, Donnie. Wow, I can't believe I just said that. I agree with Donald Trump. But you know how much Amazon's tax bill was in the US last year? Guess. On profits of $10 billion, they paid zero. Nothing. In fact, it's worse than that because they actually got a rebate of $121 million. What? I'm not making that up. The American public gave them money. So you're doing a great job there, Mr. President, sir.
Oh, shut up!
The White House doubled down on its criticism by issuing a statement slamming France for hitting American companies. The White House said the United States is extremely disappointed. They're not angry, they're just disappointed. Extremely so by France's decision to adopt a digital services tax at the expense of US companies and workers. Oh, please. They said France's unilateral, and you know that Donald Trump didn't write this, France's unilateral measure appears to target innovative US technology companies that provide services in distinct sectors of the economy, said a White House spokesman. They said the Trump administration has consistently stated that it will not sit idly by and tolerate discrimination against US-based firms. The US Trade Representative has already launched a Section 301 investigation into France's digital services tax, and the administration is looking closely at all other policy tools. Okay, it's war. So, am I hallucinating, or does that seem like a perfectly reasonable attempt to get just a tiny amount of tax from corporations that are draining all the cash out of the world in an apparent race to see which geek can be the first trillionaire? And it's resulted in Trumple-Thinskin to launch another trade war. Another one. Trade wars are great and easy to win. But at least we aren't going to be in the crosshairs. We don't have any plans for a tech tax. Except we do. Amazon and Google and all the rest pay the same in this country as they do everywhere else. They will say, as though they all have the same lawyers, that they pay the full amount legally required in all the jurisdictions in which they operate. Shall I start that again?
No.
As though they are to be commended for that. Get Jacob Rees-Mogg on the phone and he'll be able to say it. They all say the same thing. Oh, we pay all of the tax that is legally due in all of the jurisdictions in which we operate. It's just that our legally required amount, when we pay tax, actually comes to something. That's the difference between us and them. And for that reason, we in the UK are planning our own perfectly reasonable tax on the tech companies. So we're screwed then. There goes that special relationship that people are hanging so much hope on. You know, back in October last year, the then Chancellor Philip Hammond shook off concerns expressed by US policymakers and pressed ahead with plans to introduce a new digital services tax in the UK starting in April next year. He said that the UK argues that the current rules aren't fit for purpose in a digital world, where internet businesses rely on the actions of users in the country to enable sales of advertising or the creation of a market. The tax rules were made when before the invention of all of this stuff. It's very, very new, don't forget. The tax laws were written before the emergence of these new behemoths. And so the tax laws need changing, because we're losing too much money to these companies. And it's not an overstatement to say that they're killing us. People are actually dying because we have not got the money to police the streets, finance hospitals, and care, and fix the roads and all of the rest of it. The world needs to tax these companies because they're out of control. And Donnie just acts like it's a personal slight because he's got his fans convinced that he's back in America. And he really needs them to believe that and vote for him next time, or he'll be out of office and going to jail. That, and of course, like I said, he owns a winery and he'd make more money from it if French competition were to be hobbled by extra taxes. Coincidence? I don't think so. So he's flailing his arms around like a chimp in a cage. And the French are quite reasonably saying that their tax laws are for them to decide. But Donald Trump thinks he's ruler of the universe. And just as we said last October that Great Britain would tax those firms at 2% of sales, because trying to figure out what they earn is like trying to catch smoke. So take their total sales and charge them 2%, and they're getting off so lightly it could be called scot-free. And it's only going to be companies whose sales exceed £500 million. And we're not even going to tax them the first 25 million. That's probably the sweetest deal outside of paying nothing as they do currently. And at the core of this policy is the truth that the UK isn't getting its fair share of the profits that these companies make from the people of this country. It's just the money in this country is being drained out. It used to circle virtuously around. You'd go to a shop. You remember shops?
No.
Yeah, there used to be a thing called shops. And we used to go and hand our cash over a counter. And the person would put it in the till. God, seems like ancient history, don't it? And then they'd pay their tax on that. And the tax would be spent on the NHS and the police. But now, all that money that used to be spent in shops just disappears into thin air. Nobody knows where it goes. But it doesn't come here. Doesn't get spent here anymore. And so this is an attempt to redress that balance. And it's not much. It'll get us about £400 million a year. But it's a start. And it's our policy, nothing to do with the EU, so don't even start with that. It's us sticking up for ourselves in the face of our money draining out of this country with tragic results. But, of course, now we're on our knees begging for Donald Trump's attention like a devoted Labrador. Will that tax actually happen now? That was going to be the test of whether we have actually taken back control or gifted the country all tied up with a ribbon on it to a bright orange crooked ignoramus who will paw us with his sticky fingers and then throw us in the corner to play with later like a spoilt child at Christmas. We'll find out, I suppose. I know what my money's on. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. If you is LBC with Nick Abbott, call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
He's a great guy. He's a good guy. He's a good person.
Thanks, Donny. You're the best. Chris says, Amen. What a weird way to start. Isn't that how you end? You say goodbye and I say hello. He says, Amen. Nadine Dorris is an ex-nurse and now is in the health department. But wait, I bet because she's not a leftist, Nick will have something to moan about. Just because somebody used to be a nurse that doesn't mean anything. Dr. Mengele, I rest my face. The biggest, most successful mass murderer in history was a GP in this country. Ex-nurse. Like that tells us everything we need to know. Lou tweets, I hate French wine. Way too acidic. Give me New World wine, Australian, Chilean, etc. A ridiculous thing to say. All French wine is too acidic. This says the best French wine is Beaujolais. No, it's not. I don't know anything about wine, but I know that the best French wine isn't Beaujolais, you idiot. Robert tweets, breaking news, part-time disc jockey says he's more intelligent than the President of America. Oh, please, Robert, even you're more intelligent than the President of America. Disc jockey. What a numpty. Oh, people, really, Am I hallucinating, or is it the people who identify as being on the far right are just so sensitive? They start flailing their arms around, clenching their fists as soon as they hear anything they don't like. There's some texts and emails and so on that are hanging around from yesterday. Let me just wipe those up first. Lynn in Stockport says, forget the politics. I love listening to Boris and Jacob and John Burkow frolicking about in the English language like dolphins. Chris says, you mock him, but Rees-Mogg's show was more balanced than both this and Monsieur Richard Spur. Left-wing bias at the BBC, says all in caps with exclamation marks. Again, Chris, your opinion of what is balanced is whether you agree with it. It can't be Radio Nigel all day, every day. If you just hold your breath and wait for a minute, he'll be back on soon. Are you going to be okay, or do you need to go to your safe space? Carol says, what do you think of Adam Bolton's white suit? Hideous, methinks. Adam Bolton bought a white suit. It must have looked like a tent. Julian says, I stay at the German resorts when on holiday in Mallorca. It's much more civilised than being around the cretinous Brits. Is it? I'm not entirely sure. Well, maybe. Because they'd be saying, they may be cretinous, but of course they'd be expressing their cretininity in German. So you wouldn't be able to understand them better. And plus, it's such a beautiful language, German. Sally says, your first message about Britain Trump is correct. It's what is this? Your first message about Britain Trump is correct. It's apparently the usual illiteracy on the part of the great man instead of... What is this about? No idea. I'm sad I started. Steve says, this is in reference to a caller I had, or a text rather, I had from a taxi driver yesterday saying, when we get to your destination, please stop talking to me. I didn't really want to have a conversation with you in the first place, and stop bending my ear. We're at where you wanted me to take you. Just get out of the car. Or words to that effect. And in answer to that, Steve says, will you put out a call to all taxi drivers? If we didn't have to state our destination at the start of the journey, we passengers wouldn't necessarily want to talk to him in the first place. Wow. No tip there, methinks. And Natalie says, and sort of distills the thinking that a lot of us have been going through lately. She says, I feel like we are living in some dystopian reality where so-called celebrities who appeared on game shows are now in positions of power. Obviously Trump in The Apprentice, while Johnson perfected his lovable, bumbling buffoon routine on Have I Got News for You. Even the scary Miss Widdicombe had several appearances on such shows, didn't she? Surely this victory of style over substance says it all about our current situation. Time for the return of the weakest link. We certainly have a surfeit of contestants for that. Correct Amundo. 0345 60. So those are the last of the texts from yesterday. See, I'm all caught up. I'm doing very well. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Let's have Uxbridge. Lewis. Oh, God, with this screen again. Am I the only person that this screen fails to act?
I think so.
Right. Lewis.
Can you hear me now?
I can now.
Oh, hello there, Nick.
Hello there, Lewis.
Yeah. I just wanted to make a point on Chris's statement about this wonderful programme, which is apparently, in his words, left-wing corporation. I don't think so. I think it takes two sides of the view and everyone can get involved, and that's the power and the beauty of it.
I spend 6 hours a week on this station being yelled at by right-wingers who accuse me of presenting a biased programme. If this is biased in any way, it's biased because there's so many right-wing people screaming at me for my perfectly reasonable opinions.
Well, you could call me right-wing, you could call me left-wing, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of split down the middle. Now, your point on the tax corporations, It's like me singing to you over the phone, Chaz and Dave, you know, the nag's head, no income tax, no VAT, no money back, no guarantee. That's the sort of scenario we have at the moment. And I think it's an absolute disgrace that the tech companies have got away with it for so long. And I used to work for Amazon Flex as a courier. The amount of tax I'd have to pay on my stupid little run around London, while they can get away with, you know.
Well, Lewis, the amount of tax you paid personally amounted to more than they paid. I think we actually owed them money last year, didn't we?
I think so.
I may have that wrong, but the America certainly did.
But they're all just disgraceful. They're just as bad as each other. You know, it's an absolute disgrace, and I'm sick of it. I'm angry. Right. I'm irritated.
You're sick of being sick about it. I get it. Yeah. All right, so calm down, Lewis. It might never happen. Oh, no, that's right. It already has. 0345 6060 973. Hugh says, I'm listening to you with a tin can and a piece of string. It must sound fantastic. Get 2 tin cans, Hugh, and you'll get me in stereo. Groovy. Stephen Upminster said, did you see the tweet from one of Donny's kids? It was either Orangina or Fanta, who congratulated Boris on being the new PM of United Kingston. Obviously confusing Boris with Bob Marley. Easily done, A.
Want to score some pot?
And Nick says, the best French wine is 3 litres in a box. Well, it's a French wine. Here's Abingdon. Dean. Oh, for crying out loud. I'll try it again. Dean.
So, find out. Today I heard that 16-year-old Tory members and also Tory members that have been out the country for 15 years were all allowed to vote for our Prime Minister. Yet 16-year-olds and other people outside the country aren't allowed to vote in a general election.
There can't possibly be any 16-year-old Tory party members.
Yeah, there is.
Really?
Yep.
Why? How?
I don't know. But
what is their number? I want their names.
Vote for our Prime Minister.
Well, I don't know that that's not true, so I'll have to take it on board as a fact, Dean.
Yeah, and also the people outside the UK that have been out for 15 years or more,
yeah,
they also got a vote if they were paid-up members.
Right.
And so but they're not allowed to vote in general elections or any other elections because they've been outside the country for 15 years.
Yeah, well, I hate to break the news to you, Dean, but it's much, much worse than that because nobody else got to vote either. So 0.3% of the population.
Yeah.
Once again, we've had our Prime Minister elected for us.
Yep.
I think that's not called taking back democracy.
I just thought that was worth knowing, that 16-year-olds and also people outside, because when it come up in the Commons that 16-year-olds for the vote, nearly every Tory voted against it.
Right.
You know? And also, when the 15-year rule came up 3 years ago, they voted against that as well to keep it as it is.
Yeah, I think that's called gerrymandering. It's pretty much what the Republicans do. Just pull every trick in the book to avoid the demographic that might vote against you from going to the polls in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would imagine that 99.999% of 16-year-olds would not be Conservative voters. But that's just a guess on my part. But I would put money on it. Not a lot, but a bit. OK, thanks, Dean. Keep your eyes peeled. 0345 6060 973. Steve in... No, I read that. Leslie tweets, Tories are back with professional debaters Boris and Jacob in the House of Commons, unlike Theresa May, who didn't have a clue. Well, yes, but a professional debater is not necessarily what you want as somebody to run the country. You mean show-offs. That's what a professional debater is. A show-off. We want more show-offs in charge? God, don't we have enough of those already? I'd rather have somebody who's actually interested in the job rather than the reflected glory that comes from doing it. And Owen in Plymouth, but maybe that's just me. Owen in Plymouth says, can you ask Boris to send someone from the EU round with an ice pillow? I'm having trouble sleeping in this heat. Well, there ain't no heat no more. Summer's over. It was actually chilly today. And it got dark really early. Blooming cold outside. 1 week of glorious weather, and all anybody did while it was on was complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
So I'll tell you what the weather's going to be like over the next couple of weeks in a bit. But don't expect anything good. 0344, and that's probably all to do with the new administration.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC. It's
on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Listen to him. He knows everything.
James tweets, did someone just say that Rees-Mogg's show was balanced? Yes, they did, yeah. They don't mean balanced, they mean they agreed with everything he said. That is apparently what balanced means now. If you hear something that you don't agree with, then regardless of whether it was embedded in 99% content that you do agree with, then that becomes very unbalanced in your unbalanced mind. And by the way, if you agree with absolutely everything that Jacob Rees-Mogg says, and you also and you do not have £100 million in the bank, then I think you need an intervention. Belgravia, hello, Daniel.
Hi there, good evening. I wanted to tell you that it's about reality. I would rather disclose reality to you.
I'd rather not trouble myself with reality, if that's okay with you.
Well, if you may permit me, rather than fact or fiction, the American budget deficit is in excess of $22 trillion.
Yeah.
The UK has approximately 25% of that as a deficit. It's going to get worse. It is not going to get better.
Well,
the very same people.
I think the whole plan is like musical chairs. If you just don't stop playing the music, everything will be just fine.
But it's a delusion that they put in front of you, in front of your handheld device. So what I'm saying is the very same people who enable people like me to put my money into safe havens are the very same people that I personally know who have hedged against the pound falling further. And these people who will get a reality check sooner rather than later have no idea what they're in for.
Well, now, wait a minute. But the people that have hedged against the pound falling, they're the ones who are going to win, as they have done already.
I have a friend who has personally put in, I won't say the exact figure, but he put in a certain amount of money in 2016, not so soon after the referendum. And when the pound comes down to 105, that party will make a killing.
Well, people have already made a killing. Some of the biggest backers of Brexit have made hundreds of millions of pounds by betting against the country when we had that referendum, which rather puts into perspective what Boris Johnson said, that people betting against the country will lose their shirts. Which is quite the reverse. People betting against the country have made a spectacular amount of money.
But Nick, if you were to tell me the very conglomerates which are foreign-owned in this nation, in this great nation of ours, if those very same conglomerates who have categorically and continually announced massive job cuts, just-in-time supply restrictions, and absolute chaos pending, where is the good news in that?
You're asking me? I don't know. Get Boris Johnson on the phone.
Well,
I think he's busy sucking up to Scotland at the moment. They hate you in Scotland, Boris.
Well, there was a question in not PMQs, but one of those speeches that Boris was making, and he was asked the question categorically of his association with a certain arms dealer, completely disregarded.
Right. Well, I don't know anything about that, but whatever you say. Let's not get into detail. Let's just assume that. Let's just assume the worst. All right. Thanks a lot, Daniel. 0345 6060 973. Dee in Tulse Hill says, I'm trying to listen to your programme, but there are some numpties who've had a barbecue, even in the rain, earlier today, and they're still blaring their music ever so loudly. I can't hear you, says Dee. Rock and roll music. Huh, does it sound a bit like this? Awful. Turn that racket down. What is wrong with people? You think that the rain would send them back in. Well, you think that the temperatures would send them back in. Look at this weather. I am not completely satisfied. It's awful. Just when I was getting used to 100 degrees, and then they show you the hot heat, and then they just take it away again. 71 degrees tomorrow, 76 on Monday, but don't get excited because by Wednesday it'll be 69, and that's in London. Which means that the rest of the country is going to be worse than that. 69 degrees, and it's on the cusp of August. And it's going to be raining here and there, 75, 73, 72, 72 at the end of the first week of August. Rubbish. Of course, listeners in Glasgow will get their own weather. Raining tonight in Glasgow, raining tomorrow, raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday, and raining on Friday. Then you get 2 days where it might not rain, but don't cross your fingers. And then raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday, and raining on Friday. And that's Friday the 9th of August, when it will be 65 degrees in Glasgow. Huh. Now, do you want to still complain that it was 100 degrees the other day? Is there a little bit of you that would like to go back to that? Yeah, me too. 0345 6060 973. There was some good columns in the papers today, and there was one about the tech tax column, or there was one about the tech tax that I was just talking about some a while ago, that Donald Trump is just starting a trade war with France about. And presumably, if we go through with our initial plan, which was perfectly reasonable, then he's going to start a trade war with us as well. When he hears what Boris Johnson thinks about him, then all bets are off.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind.
If anybody's got a tape of Boris Johnson saying anything negative about Donald Trump, then they should definitely keep it to themselves.
I think he's betraying a quite stupefying ignorance.
Because if Trump or Thin-Skin hears about any of that, then we're in big trouble. Let's have Tunbridge, Sarah.
Oh, hi there.
Hello there.
Yeah, I mean, I love it when you play those pieces. I do wish Trump could hear them. Anyway, what it really irritates me is, God knows, I couldn't stand that woman, and she'd.
Well, can you nail it down for us? Which one?
The one who was running the main one. Maybot.
Mrs. M.
When she stood there at PMQs going and looking at Corbyn in that supercilious manner she would at him, and say, well, she always did. She did have that kind of smirk on her face.
Well, that when she did her last speech at the dispatch box, 2 swords length apart.
Yes.
Then when she sort of peered at him as though she were wearing spectacles, that was a bit. It was a bit weird. She came across as a bit psycho.
Well, I mean, the fact, talk about not seeing the mote in your own eye when she's going on yet again about him being anti-Semitic, which is just such a load of tosh. Anyway, the fact is that she stood there and looked at him and said, there is no money tree. And then, of course, gave the DUP $1 billion.
Yeah.
And now, where is the press forensically looking at? If Corbyn had stood there and said, I've got money for schools, police, railways, upgrade 20 hospitals, whatever that means. If he said one of those things...
I know what you mean, but when you said, where is the press forensically analysing it? And I've got good news for you.
Yes?
I have forensically analysed it.
Oh, but I thought you said you... You're not a journalist.
No, I'm not at all. I'm pretending to be a journalist just for one day. No, I've gone through and I've added it all up. I've done mental arithmetic, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I hope it's not like your weather whatever those were, centigrades in your Fahrenheit.
There's nothing wrong with my arithmetic, believe me.
I know, and it's when people, it makes me laugh when people phone in or send you an email and say, you've got the sums wrong.
Don't you know that 9 plus 9 isn't 16, you stupid moron? Why can't you do your research?
I know.
Things like that.
Irony is not their, or sarcasm, or whatever the correct word is not their forte, obviously.
I call it fishing for numpties, Sarah. You always catch one.
One? I think it's rather more. And yes, so what I would suggest are 85% of our press are right-wing. None of them, if Corbyn had stood up and said, I am going to, our schools are all going to produce, every child is going to be brilliant.
If he'd said a tenth of what
absolutely.
Of what Boris Johnson has just promised to spend, then the press would have had a cow.
Exactly. I mean, the whole thing
It's so hypocritical. It's just staggering when a Labour Party member suggests spending money that we haven't got. Then it's
well, it's almost Stalinist, isn't it? Well, it's definitely Marxist, if not Stalinist. I mean, it is extraordinary.
It's a demonstration of fiscal incontinence. But when a Conservative Party member suggests we spend a lot of money that we haven't got, then it's patriotism in its true form.
Absolutely, and if it's all right as well, it seems, and no one's really picked up on it. With that madman over the other side of the water, talking about, as I call him, Doris Box Painter.
Who?
Well, you know. Boris Johnson said he painted boxes.
Oh.
So I call him Doris Box Painter.
Okay.
So when that dumb Trump over the other side of the water said the other day that Doris Box Painter, except he called him his normal name, said that he's Britain Trump.
Yeah. He didn't finish. He didn't end there. He said the people are calling him Britain's Trump, and that's a good thing. A lot of people like me over there.
No, they love me. They love me. He said.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the insanity of it all. We've got two self-delusional, self-important
narcissists.
Well, I was going to say mad people, but perhaps that's being unkind.
Well, maybe more truthful. Who knows?
but the press will always pick up on anything that Corbyn does or says that's slightly off centre. Mm-hmm. But my God, these other two. But as I said, I think I said it to you once before. What shocked me the most is if people are saying that the wonderful thing about Doris Box Painter and the other guy I call Farage, I'm not going to use a nice French-sounding name for him. They say it how it is. They tell you the truth, and yet when Doris Box Painter was asked, "Is Trump a racist?" He goes, "Oh well." Yeah. He hasn't got the bottle to actually say it.
Well, that's because as a country we have taken back democracy, apparently, from an entirely democratic organisation and gifted it to a bright orange tangerine fool who lives 3,000 miles away. It's staggering. We're going to be his pet now. But anyway, Sarah, I've got to go. But trust me, I've done the maths and I've added it all up.
Yes.
And I'll come to that in a bit. All right.
Oh, good.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. 0345 6060 973. What does Donald Trump really think about Boris Johnson?
Is he crazy or is that just the way he acts?
Here on LBC, Majid Nawaz, tomorrow afternoon from Nick Abbott on LBC.
Hello.
Ray the cabbie says, now he was the fellow that called or texted in yesterday, whinging and whining and moaning about how hot it was. Hey, Ray.
Stop whining.
He says, you said I was whinging and whining because I was hot in the cab the other day. Today was cold, and you are whinging and whining now. Right back at you. He says it's a draw. You see the abuse? I'm just sitting here being pummeled with abuse. Nick in Leeds says Trump really isn't aware of irony. He doesn't like decisions made by outsiders about anything to do with the US, yet he effectively had our ambassador sacked, wants to choose our next one, choose our PM, and generally interferes. I am impressed, though, that he can tell how good wine is by how it looks. Well, like I said, if it's got the word Trump on the label, he absolutely loves it. Here is Wanstead. Hello, Sophie.
Hey, how are you?
Great, mate.
Good. Before I get on to my main point, can I correct you?
Can we skip to your main point?
It's a short correction.
Okay.
Trump said he's Britain's Trump.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He said Britain Trump. He forgot the possessive apostrophe in the S.
Yeah, well, he doesn't do punctuation. Punctuation is for losers.
He doesn't do the English language, Nick.
Well, that is true, yeah. Unless you believe him.
I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
He has the best words. He just doesn't use punctuation, that's all. He has the words, but not the commas and the full stops.
He could be impeached for murdering the English language on that. I think I'll raise that action. But I'm quite alarmed, actually, because I feel like I'm not comparing Johnson to Trump, but I feel like I'm behaving like a Trump supporter because I'm completely disregarding what he said and done in the past and what he stands for, possibly.
Who are you talking about now? Boris? You completely...
Boris.
Right, okay.
Yes.
You're disregarding everything that Boris has said in the past. Well, that's probably a good idea because he didn't mean it.
No, but I'm thinking irrationally. I think he's charismatic.
Oh.
I think he's got... But this is irrational. I shouldn't be thinking about this.
If he's charismatic, then he should have stayed on the telly where he belongs.
But this is what the equivalent is in America. When people voted for Trump and the people who support him now are thinking irrationally. It's how he makes them feel and what prejudices and passions that he taps into.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter about the fact that he's not diplomatic. He has no presidential qualities at all.
It's just a desperate hope. They see somebody who they have invested their hope in that he's going to change their lives. And if you think that either Donny or Bozo is going to change your life for the better, and you're not currently a millionaire, then I've got bad news for you. But we all know how Donald Trump feels.
Touch, feel, that's what I do.
Yeah. Liberally.
Absolutely. Don't put your faith in a man. I think that's the moral of that story. Not that I'm cynical.
Don't put your faith in a man with stupid hair.
But I do find that he has got that kind of magic touch, and I don't know how to explain it or rationalize it. And I think it's the thing that will stop people from maybe being as critical as they should be.
Well, because he's amusing.
He's charismatic. He's amusing. He's humorous.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain him.
Well, in those words. I mean, that's why he was funny. He's the funny bloke off the telly, for crying out loud. I mean, we're living in a virtual reality world now. The people have stepped out of the screen from the TV, and they're walking among us.
Absolutely, and I think this is the danger when you when you give someone your blind faith, and at some point they're going to let you down, and maybe the blinkers will come off with Boris. I don't know, but
right.
I hope he can achieve what he said he's going to achieve.
Yeah.
I really
okay.
do.
Well, don't hold your breath, Sophie. Remember to breathe. Okay. Thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973. Chip says we've already had a people's vote. Get over it. Oh, for crying out loud! Not another one of these. You lost. Get over it. Bad news, people. Everybody is lost. You know how much the pound is worth these days? Practically nothing at all. Everybody's lost. What's this?
That's part of his name on Twitter. It's not even his message.
What, Chip, we've already had a people's vote, get over it?
That's his full name on Twitter.
Which kind of implies that nothing he writes is going to be worth reading. Shall I go ahead and read it anyway?
No.
He says, wow, LBC, your man Abbot has a cheery little programme, doesn't he? Not heard him before, but he seems to be the typical pontificating, button-pressing presenter who is not impartial and tries to indoctrinate us with their pompous Remainer views. See, I told you it wouldn't be worth reading. Don't worry, Nigel Farage will be on in just a short while, Chip. Are you going to be okay? Cyber Squatter tweet. You want put a bag over your head, maybe. Not a plastic bag necessarily, but a paper bag. Well, maybe a plastic one. Cyber Squatter tweets, Boris is a great laugh, very funny guy, and this gives me confidence that he will deliver Brexit and make Britain great again. Go Boris. That's where we're at. We're investing the hope of the country in the hands of a clown who answers to an even bigger clown. If you told people that 5 years ago that this is where we'd be right now, that Donald Trump, that buffoon off the telly, is going to be calling the shots to this country, which is going to be run by that other buffoon off the telly, people have thought you've lost your mind. But that's where we are. I mean, how could it possibly get worse than this? I mean, where can we go that could be worse than this? I mean, give me some names that could be worse than this. I'm struggling to think. Who would be a more comical alternative? I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger seems like seems positively presidential by comparison.
You are going to love President Trump.
No, not so far. Maybe he was looking in the mirror when he said that. I mean, Ken Dodd's dead, so we can't have him. So who could be worse? Give me some names. Stephen emails, there was a caller on LBC earlier who said that when he saw Boris's new cabinet, he almost cried and kissed his passport. Are you kidding? No such thing happened. Did that actually happen?
He was an Ian Payne caller.
Oh, for crying out loud. I'm in pain just thinking about it. When he saw Boris's new cabinet, he almost cried and kissed his passport. He says, when I saw the cabinet, I also cried, but for different reasons. The addition of Nadine Dorries has taken me over the edge. Just waiting for Marc Francois to be added, and my life will be over. What, Mr. I didn't get trained in the army to lose? That Marc Francois. Mr. Dad's Army himself. Oh. We're being run by well, Captain Mannering is our new Prime Minister, and is at his right hand is Mr. Bean. God, what a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Angela says, what is the phenomena that gives Glasgow its own unique weather system? It's the hills, Angela. It's because all the weather comes over from America. It blows over on the wind.
I know a lot about wind.
And comes all the way over here, and we get it all over us. And because there's hills in the way, then it gets caught there, and then the rain comes down because it can't get over the hills. I think that's probably actually right, isn't it? That's why Edinburgh is cold, because it's the other side of the hills, and Glasgow is wet, because the rain has to drop before the clouds can get over. It's like there or thereabouts. Get a meteorologist on the phone. Don't ask me to spell it. And Angela says, oh no, I've read that. William says, in Edinburgh, coincidentally, is Brexit a distraction from the expected alien invasion? Hey, you know what? We just got missed by a city killer asteroid. Did you read about that? They had no idea it was up there. And we almost got taken out. I think it came within 40,000 miles, which is much, much closer than the moon. And they didn't know it was coming, and they don't know where it went, and we're lucky to still be here, everybody. So at least we've got that. 0345 6060 973. The positive thing is we're not all dead from an asteroid strike, but that's it.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hi, honey. How are you?
What's he got to be depressed about?
I'm going to go through the various spending pledges by Boris Johnson, and we'll add it up and we'll see what it comes to. Spoiler alert, it's a huge amount. Paul emails, not only are they, as in the tech companies, not paying their taxes, but they are shutting down high street shops that are paying their taxes. Yeah, I think I said that already. Are you listening? Christine says, have you noticed that Melania Trump never smiles? Not surprised being married to Donald Trump. She makes Victoria Beckham look happy. Victoria Beckham looks like the kind of person that has practiced her look in the mirror a lot and has decided that she looks the best in a particular way and only presents that face to the cameras. But, you know, Melania Trump, what a job she's got. Being touched and felt and squeezed by you-know-whom. What do you think about that, Melania?
I don't care.
She actually doesn't care. Angela tweets, professional debaters, it's not the Oxford Union. We need people talking sense in Parliament, not show-offs using words no one has heard of. Get Larry the Cat in there. That's an excellent suggestion. Larry the Cat. Is Larry the Cat available to run the country? I mean, he's been there and seen everything. And Stephen Stroud says, how can you complain about Rees-Mogg wanting all measurements in imperial when you only give us temperatures in Fahrenheit? That's a lie, Steve. That is misinformation. Liar! In the winter, I'll give you temperatures in centigrade, because that makes sense. As I've said many times, 0 centigrade, you know where you are with that. That is hat, coat, scarf and gloves weather. But 32 Fahrenheit, that doesn't sound that cold to me. But equally in the summer, 40 centigrade doesn't sound that warm. But 80, 90 degrees does. You know where you are with that. So let's have a call in Carnforth. Hello, Annie.
Oh, hi, Nick. How you doing?
Great, mate.
Oh, God, Nick, it's worse than I thought, really. I mean, when usually sensible callers like Sophie are kind of saying, oh, you know, they've been taken in by Boris and, oh, he's magic. And I'm just thinking, oh, God, what's happened to this country? What's
I don't know.
To people?
It's happened so quickly as well. We've all completely lost our minds.
Definitely. And, you know, the fact that the way the media have carried on about the Labour Party, about, oh, the Labour Party has been taken over by the hard left, and yet they've hardly mentioned the fact that this new cabinet of Johnson's is the extreme hard right of the Tory party has been taken over by it. They're all like that. I mean, look at the ones in the main jobs like Home Secretary and Foreign Secretary, Priti Patel and Dominic Raab.
Yeah, the hang 'em and flog 'em brigade.
Yeah. Awful. I mean, yes, all she wants to do is bring capital punishment back, and then Dominic Raab has described feminists as obnoxious bigots, and also said he doesn't believe in human rights. I mean, they're just shocking, all of them. And then there's Jacob Rees-Mogg,
down to earth man of the person.
Yes, all of them. I mean, they're just so terrible. And also Nadine Dorries, somebody mentioned her tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, what a good thing because she's a nurse. Well, I don't think most women would be thinking it's a good thing because she is really, really extremely anti-abortion to the like Jacob Rees-Mogg is really one of those no abortion under any circumstances.
Yeah, right.
So she's, you know, really don't want her in the Department of Health in any capacity, really. So,
plus, the ones that aren't millionaires are billionaires.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And they're also the extreme Brexiteers, aren't they? They're the
that's the whole point.
Yeah, exactly. But they also happen to be the hard right, the really far right people. I mean, the two things seem to go together, don't they, really?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So they're just the same bunch, but so it's really scary. And how anybody can be taken in by Boris Johnson coming out with this piffle about, oh, I'm going to spend this on so much on this and so much on social care. They've spent the last 9 years completely destroying all the public services.
Yeah, doing the opposite.
Yes, so there's no way. I mean, if anybody believes anything that comes out of Johnson's mouth, and in fact, he's very similar to Trump, isn't he? He's a compulsive liar.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, but that is evidential. Boris Johnson has lied and lied and lied again. I mean, his most recent one was that comical kipper routine that he did.
Yeah. No, he does it all the time, both in his political life and his personal life. It seems he's totally duplicitous. So how anybody can think that we could trust anything that came out of his mouth, I don't know. And yet people are they're all emailing in and ringing in and saying, "Oh, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
Boris is going to make everything all right." And I'm thinking, what planet are they living on?
It's the victory of hope over. I can't finish that sentence. It's hope over experience.
Yes, it's just sort of people are just clutching at straws.
Well, yes, it's kind of sad, really. I mean, it's people's lives are obviously quite desperate if they really do think that these people who have shown no interest in their quality of life up to this point are the answer. If these people are the answer, what's the question? Plus, if the Conservatives now, it is their position that they're going to turn the spending taps on and squirt and hose us all down with cash, then it would be like setting fire to a house and then claiming credit for putting it out.
Yeah, exactly. And anyway, I just don't think they are at all. I just think it's all complete lies, really.
Well, let's hope so, because, this country does not have the money for the kind of promises that Boris Johnson is making. So the only way that he can spend what he's promised is by borrowing an incredible amount of money, which is going to have to get paid for by someone at some time. And let's assume that it's not those people that bank offshore for tax purposes. Either they bank offshore for tax purposes, or they like their money to sit in places where it can get a suntan.
Well, none of it makes sense, what he's been saying, because he did say, when he was still running for the leadership, that he was going to cut taxes. So you can't cut taxes and increase spending.
Well, you can if you just borrow a stupendous amount of money. And I've done the maths. I'll add it up for you in a bit. All right.
Yeah, I think it's all just waffle. I don't think when it's because they think there's probably going to be an election pretty soon, so they better start saying the kind of things that they think people want to hear. And
well, even the right-wing press are saying that. They're saying he's on a mission to go around and spread the pretend love around places that have been starved of it by the Conservative administration in preparation for this general election that he said that he won't take.
Yeah, and I mean, last time before the 2010 election, Cameron was on the radio and on a phone in just before that election, and a disabled person was on the line to him and said, are you going to do anything about disability living allowance? You know, are you going to leave that alone, kind of thing? And he assured that person that they were going to leave disability living allowance alone. And then within a month of them getting in, they'd announced that they were abolishing it and bringing in the new benefit PIP. Now, obviously, they'd not just decided that overnight or within a month. It was all planned before, so you can't believe anything that comes out of their mouths.
Yeah, we're still not missing you, Dave.
I think this is nonsense.
All right, I've got to go. Thanks, Annie. 0345 6060 973. Darren says, can you believe that the Fortnite World Cup has a prize fund of $30 million? Kids are becoming multimillionaires because they have fantastic thumb-eye coordination while sitting in a darkened room. The whole world's gone crazy. I don't even know what Fortnite is. Apart from it's the thing that's got that magic dance, which I tried to do once, and I almost killed myself. My shoulders went one way, my hips went the other, and I almost cut myself in half. What is Fortnite?
Some sort of video game.
Some sort? Can you be more specific?
I don't know too much about it. I'm like you.
Right. I thought you were a kid.
22.
Isn't that a kid?
I think I'm an adult.
Aren't you supposed to know this stuff? Fortnite. They can't even spell it right. Fortnite. Wrong. Don't tell Jacob Rees-Mogg that. He'll have a fit. $30 million prize fund for Fortnite, whatever that is. What is it? No idea. Some video game. What do you think about that, Melania?
I don't care.
Still doesn't care. Jane in Liverpool says, you're not talking about the royals anymore. I'm having withdrawal symptoms. What do you think the Queen thinks of Boris and everything else going on? Well, I don't know. I think she's probably delighted that somebody more on her wavelength is going to be visiting her every week. More the kind of person that she's used to.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
You know, someone in her orbit. And by the way, that whole thing about Hazard and Sparkles, their people, issuing instructions to the local yokels not to look them in the eye, like they're Tom Cruise, and not to pet their dogs, and not to ask them for any photographs. Say, I want to see the bye-bye, any of that stuff. And then they said, it had nothing to do with us. We certainly don't want to issue any instructions to our friends and neighbours in that regard. Those instructions did not come from us personally. We had no knowledge of that. Yeah, right. They may not have issued those instructions personally, but the people around them knew them well enough to issue those instructions on their behalf. Just like when Donald Trump's people took the name of the that boat when he went to Japan. They covered up the name of that boat. The Republican who was famously his enemy. Trump made him his enemy. I can't remember the fella's name now. What was that chap's name? That he's dead now. That's not funny. That's not funny. I bet you didn't even know he was ill. Laughing at his predicament. He's actually still dead. Can't remember the fella's name, but anyway, they covered up the name on the boat because Donald Trump didn't like him. And Donald Trump said, it had nothing to do with me. Well, actually, yes, it did, because his people knew that he was such a thin-skinned baby that he would start screaming and whining and wailing if he actually saw that guy's name. So they covered it up. It wasn't his specific instruction, but they did it because they knew who he was. And ditto, John McCain, that's it. And ditto the Royals. Hazard and Sparkles. Do you think they want the locals coming round and asking for sugar?
No.
Of course not. 03, and I don't mean sexual favours, I mean actual sugar. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Let me remind you about my podcast. It's 30 minutes of amusement. It's the best of this show, and you'll find it comes out on Mondays. The current one is a right hoot and has some full-on stand-up screaming and shouting action in it. It's called the Nick Abbot Habit. Download Global Player from your App Store, and as well as being able to listen to LBC and Heart and Capital and Classic and all of the rest of them. You can listen to a multiplicity of podcasts as well. If you scroll down to the Global Podcasts and way over to the right, you'll find my podcast there. You can also just get it by pointing your computer at the internet and asking for it by name. The Nick Abbot Habit.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
Yes, hello. I've been waiting for you. Hello.
0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in Gloucester. Noel.
Hiya, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
I've just been listening to you, and I just think you're bang on. I think the world's gone mad.
Yeah.
I mean, I sit down and watch telly, and I'm like, really? I mean, it's like when Bojo comes on, I really just don't know whether to laugh or cry.
Yeah, cry.
I know, but then you kind of laugh as well. And I sat there thinking, hang on, you've got a guy here who has just about insulted every country on the planet, every religion, every colour, every town in the country, but he's not racist. He just says these things. He don't mean it, you know. He's just the way he is. And then you've got a lifetime peace protester who stood up to the plate time and time again, and for the Jewish people on protest to keep Jewish cemeteries and to stop racism against them. He's been arrested for it. None of that's mentioned. He's won 3 peace awards, but he's a racist. The world's gone mad.
Well, yes, the world has gone mad, and I've said this before. The reason that the right-wing press are desperately trying to get rid of Jeremy Corbyn is that he stated once that if he got into power, he would look at the concentration of news outlets in the hands of a very few, coincidentally, offshore, non-British owners. And or non-British tax-paying owners, and that's the reason that they've been gunning for him ever since he stuck his bearded head over the parapet.
Yeah, I first heard that on your show, and you're absolutely bang on, and it's like they keep saying he's hard left, but what in his manifesto is hard left? It can't be that hard left, as Boris is using it now.
Well, if you had put what Boris is promising into Jeremy Corbyn's mouth, the fiscal promises that Boris Johnson's just made, the right-wing press would have an absolute fit, calling it the insanity of a left-wing socialist leader. But they don't say that when it's Boris Johnson saying it.
There's just no balance, really, is there, Nick? I mean, because they there's this myth. It's like Labour, they borrow, debt.
Yeah.
And then, but the thing is we've had 10 years of austerity nearly, yet we're over $1 trillion more in debt, and so none of it's really gone to where it's needed. So how's that worked out for everyone?
Badly. The Conservatives make a big song and a dance about the deficit coming down, as though, and I think that they probably hope that people understand that to mean that the amount that we owe is coming down. But it doesn't. It just means the amount that we're borrowing is less now than it was last year. But we're still borrowing, so the amount that we owe is still going up.
That's right. And if Boris wants to do these things, he's going to have to borrow. But the difference is if Boris borrows, it will go in tax breaks for the rich. Right? If Labour borrows, it will go into the railways, which eventually and stuff that will bring back profit. Which I think it's like a 10-year turnaround. Like RSB, we had to step in. But when we did, it's like after a while, it started actually bringing money in for the taxpayer.
The Royal Society for the Birds?
No. Do you know the bank? Royal Bank, RBS.
RBS.
All right. Yeah, the Royal Bank of Scotland.
Well, like I said, I've done the maths and I've added up his promises. So I'll come to that in a minute. All right, Noel, leave it with me. I've done mental arithmetic.
Oh no.
Yes. Steve says, can someone tell Nick Abbott that half the cabinet were Remainers? So what's with the right-wing Brexit bias? Steve, are you on some sort of delay? Half the cabinet were Remainers? That's not true. Nick says, Nadine Dorris is the politician who went on I'm a Celebrity whilst serving as an MP. Well, I didn't see it. I just don't watch any of those shows, and it would be better if you didn't either. If you stop watching those stupid shows, they will stop making them. I promise that that's true. ITV are going to put Love Island on twice a year now. I mean, talk about desperate. That is pathetic. Love Island. Has anything interesting happened yet?
No.
Peachy tweets, Fortnite is a pathetic game where you control a character and shoot other players. They pay £20 a pop for different outfits for their characters and run around shooting "Ooh, chase me" at other teams. You've got to be kidding me. You spend £20 for an outfit? What do you mean? What, in the game? You spend £20 to buy an outfit for your character in a game? Am I losing my mind? Or is this real life? Gosh, I hope I'm hallucinating. Wouldn't that be great? I am stunned. Can somebody please confirm that? Because I just can't believe that that's true. £20! My glamorous assistant says my actual outfit is cheaper than that. Yeah, well, I'm right there with you. £20. Let's have Birmingham. Hello, Dave.
Hi, mate.
Dave.
Okay.
Approximately to the nearest pound, how much is the outfit you're wearing right now?
Pair of shorts, shirt, maybe about £5.
£5. That seems reasonable.
Listen, mate, I'll tell you what. I've listened to your programme because there's nothing on Talk Sport. But anyway, nevertheless, what's going to happen on November the 1st? You seem to know everything. Tell me.
What's going to happen on November the 1st?
Yeah, tell me. Go
well,
on.
People will be launching fireworks into the air because it'll be just a couple of days before you know what.
No. Confirm it. You seem to know exactly what's going to happen. So can you just give me a list of what's going to close down on the 1st of November? I'll tell you what's going to close down, you Burke. Nothing.
Well, when did I ever say anything was going to close down on the 1st of November? Oh, he disappeared. Oh, boy, he's a brave one, isn't he? He just dropped that one and left. He ran away. OK. Dan in Sheffield says, when you said Boris Johnson answers to a clown, who are you referring to? Her Majesty the Queen? No. Her Majesty the Queen's not a clown. She's not funny. She's never been funny in her entire life. Name me one thing she's ever said that was funny. Nothing. Not one single thing. The scary thing about Donald Trump, for instance, but who is the clown that he is, that Boris Johnson will be answering to, is that he is actually funny. Although, with time, he's getting less funny. He started out highly amusing, which was a good cloak for his evil intent. But now it's just becoming less and less easy to find him amusing. Once I was amused, now I'm petrified. John in Wrexham says, you're forgetting that once we leave the EU, we won't be sending them any money and we can spend what we save on things closer to home. Oh, God. I've been explaining this simple stuff to you people for like 3 years now. Once we leave the EU, we won't be sending them any more money. As though it only goes one way. As though we just spend the money on being a member of the EU and get nothing in return. And that guy, John in Wrexham, and the person I was just speaking to, as a country, we're following them now. Doesn't that give you some pause for concern? It's a certain demographic that is now calling the shots.
I love the poorly educated.
Yeah, in a nutshell. And some well-educated people are abusing their trust. Not trust, gullibility. Paul in Wrexham says, the outfits in Fortnite are optional. The game is free to play, but many do pay for the outfits. Well, many are, there's that word, gullible again. 20 quid for an outfit to kit out your cartoon character in a game. Kids, you've lost your minds. It were grand when I were a lad. If you had 20 quid when you were a child, you used to spend it on proper things like, I don't know, glue, for instance. The good old days. Simon says a mate of mine spent £80 on Fortnite outfits in total. What? £80. And what do you get for that? A pretend life. Mind you, if you can win £3.5 million playing that stupid game, then I take it all back. When can I start? Is it okay if I wear what I'm wearing now? I'll assume that the answer is no. I'm going to have to upgrade. This says, I listened to the guy talking about kissing his passport on the Payne show. I laughed when Payne interrupted him and asked excitedly, what colour is your passport? And the caller replied dejectedly, oh, it's just the usual red one. I think you mean pink. It's a maroon. just like that guy I was just speaking to. And Lawrence says, is your producer really 22? He sounds like he's 35. 22 years old. He's down with the kids. He's keeping it real. I've got no idea what that means. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. Hey, look at the time. It's 11:30. The news headlines with Andy Ivey.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
I really like you. Do you like me?
Like doesn't even begin to describe it. Frank says, did anyone else get the Donna Summer reference, or was it just me? Nice job. Oh, you're welcome. Lawrence says, is your producer really 22? He sounds like he's 35. Well, they grow up quick these days. And Danny from Birmingham said, you were out of order. How rude you were to the royal family. Have some respect. Yeah, in other words...
Be polite!
Yeah, I'm always polite, Danny. Get lost. I'll respect them when they respect me. As in, never. Okay, you want to know how much Boris Johnson's various pledges are going to cost us?
No.
No, you actually really don't. Okay, first of all, there's the big tax cut proposals. Boris Johnson's tax cut proposals could cost the Exchequer as much as £20 billion a year, money that we haven't got, while mainly, of course, benefiting richer households, as you would expect.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
That said, what they call his expensive pledges to cut taxes for high earners and lift the national insurance contribution threshold were incompatible with the government's promise to end austerity. In other words, we can't afford it. So says the Institute for Fiscal Studies. Their costings show that the tax breaks for high earners will cost $9 billion a year in reduced revenues. They said it would cost $11 billion a year to raise national insurance contributions for employees and self-employed workers to $12,500, the level of income at which people also start paying income tax. And that's not including employers' contributions. So far we've got $20 billion. Tom Waters, a research economist at the Institute for Fiscal Studies, said it's not clear that spending such sums on tax cuts is compatible with both ending austerity in public spending and prudent management of public finances. Prudence is a ship that's sailed and sunk. And Johnson's proposals to raise the higher rate threshold for income tax from £50,000 to £80,000 a year would mean that an average gain of nearly $2,500 a year for those in the top 10% of the income distribution. Now, given that, Boris Johnson's trying to sell this to the poor by saying that national insurance contributions that will raise, that will benefit the poor, he said. But even that cut would benefit the middle to upper part of the income scale most, because the poorest are less likely to be in work and get a larger share of their benefit from of their income rather from benefits. And Boris Johnson also said that we should be cutting business taxes, and that's a biggie, because, the donors to Boris Johnson himself and the Tory party in general have probably put that at the toppermost of their wish list, in capitals and underlined in red. So let's assume that that's going to happen, whether we can afford it or not. I mean, we've already got one of the lowest rates of corporation tax in the developed world. 9 years ago, it was at 28%, which doesn't seem unreasonable. And after 9 years of Conservative rule, that's now not 28% anymore, it's 19%. But apparently that's still not low enough. And the eagle-eyed among you will note that tax receipts have gone up in those 9 years. But remember, in 2010, the country was in the biggest recession in living memory, so you would expect tax to go up from that low in 9 years. And even though the tax amount went up, the amount of tax receipts as a percentage of GDP went down. That's according to the government's own figures. So don't let them tell you that a reduction in the percentage of tax will cause an increase in the amount of tax, because that's just not true. And another promise is adding £1.1 billion a year to hire 20,000 police officers. And that's despite the police themselves saying that the solution to crime isn't just more bobbies on the beat. And other countries with lesser crime and fewer police persons prove that it isn't a cure-all. And then there's leaving the EU, especially on that hard Brexit deal that he and his backers seem to be desperate for. No mentions made of the latest cost of Brexit, now put at £22 billion a year, just to see UK businesses survive the effects of a promised no deal, let alone defending the rest of the economy and all of the other promises he's made. And there's £2 billion he's promised the north of England, and £2 billion he's promised on infrastructure, and the money he's promised to improve what he called unglamorous local services that people use every day, like buses. I mean, there was his own Boris bus, you'll recall, made to have an open back door like in the good old days. But he didn't factor in the cost of conductors, which we couldn't afford, so those doors remained shut, as did the windows, so people roasted. And then the whole lot was cancelled because it cost too much. 321 million. I mean, if you look at his record, it's quite alarming. And then there was the Garden Bridge that never got built, £53 million. And then there was the Olympic Orbit Tower, that unlovely lump of twisted metal in the east of London that's £13 million in debt. The interest on that alone is £700,000 a year. This was all during his period with his hand on the chequebook when he was the London mayor. And then there's the cable car across the Thames, the world's most expensive urban cable car, £60 million. No one uses it. And then there was the £5 million he spent on the Boris Island Airport plan. That came to nothing. And then there was the Boris Bikes scheme that was supposed to cost us nothing, but actually cost £225 million so far. And the total cost of his self-aggrandising plans for London when he was mayor has so far come to more than £1 billion, and it's still going up, despite the fact that he's been out of the job for 3 years. That man's as good with money as a lottery winner. And so add it up, his proposals so far. The stamp duty, there's that. Let's say a conservative £1 billion, tax cuts at £20 billion, £2 billion for northern towns, £1 billion for the police, HS3, let's say, I don't know, £30 billion. The cost to the economy of a no-deal Brexit, which is predicted to be 9% of GDP. But let's be super positive, because we're all about positivity now. Let's assume it won't be 9%. Let's assume it'll be a third of that. That's another 200 billion. So that means, so far, Boris Johnson's promises will cost us, get ready, £250 billion. What? Does that sound like fiscal responsibility?
No.
I mean, could he at least get a haircut thrown in for free?
Negative.
No. His hair is where his fountain of positive thinking springs from. Cut those locks and he'll collapse like a punctured space hopper. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Portsmouth. Harry.
Oh, yes, hello, Nick. Before I get on to my main point, I thought that what I think of as the Spindtwist Tower, a monument to the City of London and Greater London in general, that orbit, I thought Lakshmi Mittal paid for it, or at least he supplied the steel for free.
Yeah, thanks for all the steel. He runs a steel company.
Thank you. Yeah. I honestly thought that was provided free by him.
Well, it free, but at massive cost to you, the taxpayer. Yeah. Of course, it had to get built. There is that.
Design and build.
And then there's the security and all of the rest of it. I don't know. It's... I mean, I bow to no one in my admiration of Anish Kapoor, but that thing is just flat out ugly. Plus, when you get to the top of it, there's nothing to see. There's nothing out there.
What got me is that stadium. I read a few years ago it cost $100,000 to convert between football and athletics track. Every time they have to move these seats to take account of what event is going on.
Yeah.
I heard a quote, it cost something like $100,000 just to move it around.
I would not be surprised if that was a fraction of the amount that it cost.
Right.
Yeah. How's that stadium working out for you, West Ham? By the way.
Oh, fabulous.
Can you see the football from your seats?
No.
Anyway, go on.
that's a bit like the Olympic pool, isn't it? They built the pool and they couldn't see past some of the pillars in some of the seating.
Really? Okay.
Right. I heard you do that Northern Bread advert voice, and it reminded me you had a problem with you've been in Pedant's Corner with Jacob Rees-Mogg tonight. A while back, somebody said you couldn't pronounce the letters US as us with a Z instead of an S.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that's perfectly acceptable.
Thank you.
It kept bugging me because I've got one radio on whisper volume, and I kept thinking I've imagined that. It's perfectly okay to pronounce the letters US with an us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Harry. I've tried to say us, but it just sounds weird. It just sounds sibilant and fey.
Yeah, I can do both versions. It just depends how you feel and I don't know. It's just there's a station in Portsmouth called Hillsey. Now you could say Hillsea. That's obviously the correct English sound. But a lot of the people in the area, you call it Hillsey. But Southsea, which is to the south of it, you never put a Z in that. That's always Southsea. But Hillsey, near the hill, you can put a Z in it.
Well, that's because the S sound comes at the end of the letter, at the end of the word, not the beginning of it. I think if it's the beginning, it's a S, and if it's in the middle or the end of the word, it's a Z.
Right, anyway, I'm not going to go that far into Pedant's Corner. You were talking about being all fingers and thumbs with this Fortnite and computer game.
Yeah, what is that about?
Well, I don't know, because I'm a sort of a digital Dumbo as well. But...
Wait a minute. I didn't say that.
Oh, didn't you? Oh. I'm just reading your mind. So.
Oh, okay then.
A few years ago, turn of the century, I applied to be a train driver.
Yeah.
I went up on the selection, they had a group of people up there at the same time. The first it was divided in about 5 or 6 sections, but the first section was could you follow instructions, could you read the timetable, could you write your name and address, that sort of thing. the second, well, it's sort of important to be able to read the timetable.
Well, I suppose so, yeah. Well, not really. I mean, your job as a train driver is just to sit down and push a button marked go, isn't it? I mean, that's it.
I know. They are getting more automated as we go on.
Yeah.
But the second section was like these pictures of little gear wheels, and it said if you turn this little gear wheel, this diagram on the paper, a certain direction, anti-clockwise, and 5 gears along, what way will that gear move? So that was the physics. That was section 2. And then I came to section 3. And that was a practical in front of you. I think it was a glass box, actually. It wasn't a proper computer screen or anything. There was lights in there, and every few seconds, a red, a yellow, or a green light would come on. And you had to press an appropriate button in front of you to say what colour, what colour light had come on. So I went through that for about 10 minutes or so. And every section, they would say whether somebody had passed, and people were dropping out. Well, I then got to this section, and after it, I got given a piece of paper because I'd failed the test.
Why?
Well, this instruction was it didn't say, it didn't go into details about the actual test, but the instruction said, assume that you might want to reapply. It sort of said those words if you wish to reapply. But it said, try and get practice on things like computer games. And I worked out it wasn't the fact I was pressing the button because to see the correct colour light and pressing the appropriate button. I was expected to leap for the correct button and whack it and be a split-second timing.
Yeah.
But the strange thing is, train drivers are the one type of driver, I suppose ships might be like that as well because they go slow in that sense, but train drivers are the one type who can't react and whack the brake on instantly, because if you see a white polythene bag half a mile up ahead floating across the track and you think it's a person and you whack that brake on, then you're going to have a lot of disgruntled passengers.
Yeah.
You have to assess what it is and make the correct decision. If you're in a car and you went through an amber light at a crossroads, and you were speeding up on the green because you could see it had been green for a while, and as you go over that line, you see it's gone to amber, and then you see some cars coming across. You've got to hit your brake, But you probably, being an alert driver, would stop before the cars moving off across the crossroads would come into contact with you. But a train driver can't do that. A few years ago, they had to stop a high-speed train at 125 at York. Well, it ends up with flat tyres and they have to take the train out of service. Well, if a train driver is going to instantly
Wait a minute. Flat tyres?
Yeah, because they got out the metal, the bit that
You mean the actual metal wheels become flat?
Yeah, they call them tyres.
Wow.
They put, like the old cart horse tyres where they put a metal rim on a wooden thing. The blacksmith used to heat it up, and then it would shrink as it went back on the wooden thing. Throw water on it. It's the same It's the same idea. But they had to take a high-speed train out of service because the driver had made an emergency brake application.
The wheels went flat.
But this is what this A4 said to me. Go away, and if you want to reapply, try and play computer games.
Right.
And I realised they wanted somebody who would whack the button as fast as they can just because they saw a coloured light come on. And that is the last thing a train driver would do.
Well, honestly, Harry, I think you've avoided your imminent career disappointment by not being selected for that task, because all train drivers are about to be replaced by robots.
Affirmative.
I think you'll find that's true. But anyway, good work. Thanks a lot, Harry. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
Eddie Mayer, Monday to Friday from 4 LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
This is absolute tosh.
Chris says, Boris offers optimism and hope, things that this country desperately need, yet have been sadly denied over the last few years. Yeah, as though optimism and hope is going to get you anywhere. Try this, Chris. Go into your bank and ask for a loan. And when they ask you for collateral, say, well, I offer you my optimism and my hope. And see what amount of money you walk out with. Vakish says 56% of the cabinet voted Remain. Also, Nick considers the cabinet extremely right-wing. The guy's clueless. Oh, Vakish. Oh, it is like fishing for numpties, isn't it? He's surrounded himself by people who are full pelt on for Brexit. Regardless of whether they voted Remain in the long-distant past is neither here nor there. People change their minds. You probably used to like Farley's rusks. When was the last time you had those? Ipswich. Hello, Gary.
I tried them a few years ago, thinking I'd hark back to my baby days, and they're horrific.
Are they? That's probably not true.
Awful.
That's probably incorrect.
I don't know why I was fed them as a baby. That's probably what made me the person I am today.
Well, did you put sugar on them?
I didn't have a lot of choice.
Well, did you soak them in milk? Isn't that the way you're supposed to eat them? Yeah. And they still didn't taste very nice.
No, they were awful.
Well, I wonder what those little jars of baby food taste like now, because they used to be lovely.
Yeah, God, they've probably taken all the sugar and all the stuff that you might enjoy out of those as well.
Yeah, all the good stuff gone.
Yeah. I reckon, because you were looking for people to take the place of Boris and Donald, because you obviously don't like those sort of people in power, I reckon we should have Emily Thornberry and Diane Abbott. Because now that would be a tremendous laugh, watching those two. You'd have Emily Thornberry rolling her eyes at everyone, sort of in disgust, and trying to put everyone down. Diane Abbott, now she must have had the same maths teacher as you.
As me, yeah.
Yeah, because she can't add up either. So between the pair of you, I tell you, that would be a hell of a combination in power.
Right. Well, I'll get her on the phone and see what we can do.
Yeah. Well, don't please, because if it ever came to that and the lefties got in, if you think this is bad at the moment,
Wait until they got in. You would actually see what being really down and broke and everyone bankrupt would be really like.
Dude, we are broke. We are bankrupt.
I know we are.
And this shock-headed Boris is about to spend £250 billion we haven't got.
Well,
just in order to boost his own, to boost his own popularity. He is like Donald Trump. He's the exact same person.
Look, the rail thing in the north, that's over. They haven't even got the outline of where the track and everything's going to be. So the money being spent on that, and that's only a drop in the ocean compared to the money they're spending on this HS2. God knows where that money's coming
we don't
from.
really know. HS2 is at the moment predicted to cost about £80 billion. So let's assume that a railway through the Pennines is going to cost, let's say, half that, at least. So that's £40 billion is just magicked out of thin air that we haven't got.
So this money's not going to appear overnight, and it's not going to be spent overnight. It's a long program. He's putting in a program for the future, and I know it all sounds a bit. Yeah, we want to hear this because it's making us happy. Because after 3 years of stagnation and a prime minister that was actually scared of her own shadow in the end, because she became a sort of person that she didn't know whether to move forward or backwards without sort of offending someone. But so at least now
we have somebody
who's someone with a little bit of optimism,
fully on board,
and that can't be bad.
Offend everyone. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't offend me.
It does. It depends, Gary. If all we are being offered is hope and optimism, or rather the facsimile of it, I mean, because it is an act. He is acting. This isn't actually who he is. It's he's on stage. He's acting. All of that. Come on, everybody, follow me forwards. That's just an act.
What did Winston do in the darkest hours?
Get drunk.
I'll tell you, that must have been a lot more scary than today. What those people in Britain had to put up with.
Are you kidding me, Gary? Most of the people that talk about that era call it the good old days. You know, when we had we had nothing. You could leave your front door open and no one would nick nothing, and there was bombs raining from the sky. Oh, it was wonderful.
Well, I had a girlfriend like that. When we had nothing, our relationship was wonderful. When we actually got the house, the nice car, the fitted kitchen, the patio, and everything all done. Oh, she couldn't wait to get rid of me.
Well, get you with your fancy abode. A patio, if you please.
I know. And we even had a built-in barbecue.
Wow, I'm amazed. Now, did she leave you and take the house?
No, I ended up going because it got a bit frightening wandering around the house with a hammer and.
So she left. So she got the house.
Oh yeah, she got the house.
Well,
they always do.
Sounds like a plan that worked perfectly.
Yeah.
She got the house and not you. It couldn't have gone better.
I think I got $3,000 out of it, and that was really hard work.
Well, £3,000 and a life lesson that will last you forever.
But can I tell you about this house? These houses were ex-policemen's houses. They were built in about 1910. Just before the First World War, and they were lovely houses. They were a council house, but they were built for policemen. It was a complete cul-de-sac, and they had these lovely houses back then, fantastically built, and they were turned over to the council. And when she got it from the fact her sister left to go to America, and she just signed her name as a so she got a 3-bedroomed house with no children. From the council, and I sort of come along, and we bought it for $29,000. Nobody in those days wanted these houses, and nowadays, I tell you, they'd fight to get into that street.
Yeah. Well, I think my parents bought their first house for £5,000, and it's I think it was like three beds, perfectly reasonable, excellent house. £5,000, kids. Can you believe that?
I know. And nowadays, to actually even look at a house,
Cost you
you're
£5,000.
probably looking at 5 years savings before you can even put a deposit down.
Yeah, of course, Boris Johnson's got an idea about how to fix that too. There's the stamp duty shake-up that is also completely uncosted, and we haven't got the money to do that either. But I'll come to that in a while, because that is also something that he's selling as helping all of us, but is actually mostly benefiting him and his ilk.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello.
And I can't stand him.
Simon in Hackney says, no one disagree that Brexit comes with a lot of money loss. But this was the outcome of the people's vote, and this is what's need to be delivered ASAP. Yeah, that fits right in. Thanks a lot, Simon. Good thinking. No one, well, I'll just fill in the gaps. No one disagrees that Brexit comes with a lot of money loss, but this was the outcome of the people's vote. It was not the outcome of the people's vote. Nobody voted to get poorer, Simon. That's rewriting history. No one at all ever voted to get poorer. That is incorrect. That is untrue.
Liar!
You know, there was one moment, please. Oh, yes. I mean, never mind about not getting poorer. People go on about, oh, well, the referendum proves that the will of the people is to leave the single market. No, that's not true either. People were asked a question by the Professor of International Relations and Political Economy at the University of Zurich on the 7th of June 2016. They were polled. If Britain votes to leave the EU, Britain will lose full access to the EU's single market. How likely do you think that this scenario will come true if Britain votes to leave the EU in the referendum? That's what people were asked. And at no point did 50% of the people think that would come about. That if we left the EU, that we would lose access to the single market. Very unlikely. 15% thought that it was very unlikely that we would lose access to the single market. 25% thought that it was fairly unlikely. Only 13% thought that it was fairly likely, and 18% said it was very likely. The only people that were telling the truth were the 27% that said that they didn't know. They said, don't know. So don't let people rewrite their history and insert a question into the referendum to try and prove one way or the other. Everybody answered their own internal question. Mostly it was, do you want to be surrounded by foreigners? And the answer was
no.
Yeah, not really, they thought. We'd actually prefer not to be surrounded by people at all. And we're not sure about pets either. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Walsall. Hello, Steve. Oh, my God. I'll try it again. Walsall. Steve. No, that didn't work. Do you want to do it? You do it for me, my glamorous assistant. Yours works. Mine doesn't. Yes, sir.
It's Walsall, mate.
I said that.
Oh, great. All right, Nick, I just wondered whether you thought Jeremy Corbyn would do a better job than maybe Boris Johnson.
What do you mean by better?
Well, I mean, Jeremy Corbyn wants to spend a lot more money than Boris Johnson does.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Well, anyway.
$250 billion.
You know, well, I mean, I don't know. You tell me, Boris. He wants to renationalise all the industries and that.
Yes, and I think that would be the will of the people.
Yeah, well, do you know why our industries was lost, Nick?
Because Margaret Thatcher wanted it that way. She wanted to take the money from the people and gift it to the few.
Well, now, let me tell you the reason why our industries was lost up north, in the Midlands and everywhere else. Because, you know, when we joined the EU, Nick, what happened is they all decided that the French was going to get the farming, all different places. The Germans were going to get all the
French
industry.
were going to get the farming. What on earth
All
do you
the
mean by
farming,
that?
yeah.
All the farming. So we don't have a farming industry in this country.
Well, hang about, Nick.
Well, no, I'll just take them as they come. We don't have a farming industry in this country.
Well, hang on, Nick. I can remember the time, right, when you could go into the shop and buy a leg of lamb for a £5, right? And they're going about now saying that what they're going to do about being able to sell all the lamb, right, because they can't sell it to the EU no more. They put tariffs on it. Now, you know,
Well, that's because of the decision that we made, Steve.
Hang about.
We wanted to leave the European Union. Is your question really that the price of lamb has gone up in the last 30 years?
Now, and what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right? I can remember the time, right, that even poor people going back in the 60s and 70s, right, you could have meat and veg on the table, right? Since we've joined the EU now, the poor people have to do with chicken. The farmers... Now, hang about, Nick.
Chicken is meat.
Yeah, of course it's meat. We know it's meat, Nick. But at the end of the day, right, the farmers are going on about saying that they're not going to be able to sell all the land because they're going to lose all this. And
if they put tariffs on it, but they would only do that because we're insisting on leaving the European Union. It's not out of nothing, Steve. It's because we're insisting on going.
Nick, you're telling me now, right? You're trying to say to me and to all your listeners here now that we're going to be 100% worse off because we leave the EU. It's like...
Well, I don't know what you mean by 100%, but we're going to be worse. We are already worse off.
Nick, listen, if I've got a car, right, and I want to sell this car to you, right, and I'll say to you it's £100, and my mate says, hang on, I'll sell that car for you, but I'm going to put 50 quid on top of it. That's what the EU does. Everything that we do...
Steve, all countries do that. All countries put tariffs on goods that come into their countries unless you have a trade deal that specifies otherwise.
Yeah, but Boris... Look, I know Boris Johnson is full of crap, like, we all know he's full of crap. But every single politician out there is full of crap, Nick, right? At the end of the day, right, if we leave the EU, and I can remember the time before we even joined the EU, and my life, and my family, and my parents' life was far better.
Oh, and your knees used to work, and there was actually a chance that you might have sex again. I know. And then the European Union came along and ruined everything. Come off it, Steve. This is ridiculous. I mean, seriously, of all the calls that I've taken on this subject, this is about the tip-toppermost silly one.
Hang about, Nick. Let me just finish what I'm trying to say to you, right? Because I've had a couple of drinks tonight and I've listened to your blog and I'm like, hang about. I'm going to ring this man here now because you seem to be saying...
And how's it going for you so far?
Well, I don't know what you tell me. I honestly believe, Nick, that you're trying to create doom and gloom, and I honestly believe that. You honestly believe that we can't stand up on our own 2 feet and go out there and produce...
Steve, people like you seem to think that if somebody says anything negative about our prospects leaving the European Union or what has happened to the economy already, then that means that they are saying that this country will flip upside down, burst into flames, and then sink. And when that doesn't happen, they say, aha, you were wrong. But I've never said that. 100% wrong.
Nick, have you been up north, mate?
Yeah, of course I have. I was born in Scotland.
Have you seen what it's like up north now? I'm a bricklayer, I am, Nick, right, and I work all over the country. I mean, I'm retired now, but I have worked all over the country. And I've seen the decline up north, the industries, the steel...
And what does that have to do with the European Union?
Well, for the simple reason they all carved it up, Nick. You know they did, and I know they did.
No, I'm afraid, Steve, you have been misinformed. If your position starts out with the assertion that the European Union took all of the farming and gave it to France, I mean, that is obvious misinformation.
Well, hang about, Nick. German industry, there's no problems with them, is that they've got their steel industry, their kids can go on apprenticeships.
Steve, you spent most of this call harking back to a time when your back didn't creak, back in the 1970s, I'll assume. Do you remember what British cars were like in the 1970s?
Nick, I'll agree with that, mate. I had an Allegro and there was the worst car I ever had in my life.
Right, yeah, precisely. And do you remember when Britain used to make its own toasters and kettles? Did you buy one of those, or did you buy a more efficient one from Japan or Germany?
I'm not saying that we shouldn't buy goods and there isn't countries out there that do better than what we do, because we'd be foolish to think that that wasn't the case.
So that's the reason that British industry collapsed, because we weren't very good at it.
Well, Nick, you say that right, but why is it then that we invented the main necessities of life?
That has nothing to do with what happened in the 1970s. You're talking about ancient history. And usually, here's a tip for countries, by the way, don't be first. Don't invent something, because other countries will see all of the mistakes you've made and then step nimbly over your prone corpse and take all of the credit and the profits.
Hang about, Nick. Listen, Nick. Look, all I'm saying to you is the people in this country are hard working. They'll go out and work 40 hours, 60 hours a week for a decent wage. But when you're getting the EU saying, and they are threatening us, Nick, and you know that we've always had the ACE card. We've always had the ACE card.
What's the ACE card?
Well, let's be honest, Nick. If you import 80 billion and we only export 20 billion to the EU, right? You're telling me that if I'm playing a game of cards and I've got £1,000 in my pocket and you've got 100 quid and I'm playing blind, who's going to win?
It depends, Steve, on how much that it represents of the amount that you earn. I mean, if you have £1,000 and I have 100, then you are better off. But if I'll put it in the actual terms. About half of what we export goes to the European Union. It's like 46%.
Well, hang about, Nick.
Listen to me. About 46% of what we export goes to the European Union. About 5% of what they export comes to us. So we need them more than they need us.
Hang about, Nick. Listen to me, right? You keep saying that we need them more than that they need us.
We do.
But at the end of the day, why is it they're doing all their shenanigans and they're playing dirty tricks with Tony Blair and do you realise...
What shenanigans are you referring to?
Hang about, you know where... you know Kinnock? You know Neil Kinnock?
Yeah.
Well, do you realise his family gets £1.7 million a year pension from the EU every year? Him and his family.
Steve, you're going off topic. What on earth does that have to do? What does that have to do with what you're talking about?
You know Nick Clegg, who's gone away now and working for YouTube or Facebook or right?
Yes.
And he was saying that there was going to be no EU army and all this. God knows what, right?
Yeah. And you know who has just said, wouldn't it be nice if the EU all chipped in and we could have a naval force? That would be us. We've just said that.
Listen, Nick, I've got nothing against the EU. I love the EU. I'll do for all that. But all I'm saying is, Nick, is that you're trying to say to people out there, right? Well, I don't know whether you are, because I've only just listened to you tonight for the first time.
Oh, my God.
And I found you very interesting, to be honest.
Yeah,
Nick,
well, I found you interesting, as in remarkable.
Hang about, Nick. Listen, don't put us down, mate. We can do a lot better than everybody thinks. And if you think...
Then everybody thinks... Well, if everybody thinks that, Steve, then maybe everybody's got a point. Did you consider that?
Well, Nick, I do understand that, but what I'm trying to say is, right, is people are out there trying to clutch a straw now. The North has been devastated. The Midlands have been devastated.
Right, but again, nothing to do with the European Union. If you want to put the blame at somebody, put it at Margaret Thatcher's feet.
Well, you know, she was the first one who destroyed the unions, and it was all these people with the big heads have planned 20 years in advance. You know it, and I know it. And at the end of the day, it's just poor. Well, I'm not poor, Nick. I'm not poor. But what I'm saying is, I see a lot of people around me that really. They just don't know where they're going, Nick, in life. They haven't got a clue. And them clinging on They are clinging on, Nick.
Yeah.
And you know Boris Johnson's come along now and he's given this great speech.
Mhm.
And I'm speaking to people out there now, and they're saying to me, you know so much, I feel great. And I think to myself, you know so much, you don't realise that man's just a politician who's doing everything because he knows this is what people need, but it's whether he follows through with it, Nick.
It's not what people need. He's telling you what you want to hear.
That's right, Nick, you're bang on, mate. And don't you think it's right? I mean, you know something now, Nick, I'm going to be totally honest with you now. I honestly think the honestly true politician out there who tells the
Oh,
truth.
God, please don't say it.
Speaks,
Don't say it.
Nigel Farage. Well, Nick, that man speaks the truth, doesn't he?
Yeah,
He's not right.
absolutely, yeah. Are you a member?
Not
Are you a member of his party?
No, I'm not.
Would you vote for him?
To be quite honest, Nick...
Would you consider being a member of his party? Say yes, Steve.
To be quite honest, Nick, I think I would, yes. You
Yeah,
know what,
okay,
Nick?
all right. That tells me all I need to know.
We've got a few idiots in our party.
Thanks, Steve. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
This is LBC. And now, Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What the hell is going on?
Honestly, Donny, I've got no idea. I've given up trying to figure it out. But I do know that France has stolen all of our farms. What? Yeah. It's true. I heard it on this show. Or I read it on the internet. What do I know?
What do I know about it? All I know is what's on the internet.
Oh, Bob says 60% of people have problems with maths. Fortunately, I'm in the 30% that don't. Listeners with material. Angela tweets, help these good old days types. Oh, help. These good old days types are doing my head in. The poor old EU getting the blame for everything. I think I'm going to have to leave, maybe to live in the EU. I'll be able to afford lamb. Priti Patel thinks UK workers are lazy. Please tell that Jasper Carrot bloke. Jasper Carrot is the only person that has made me actually fall off my chair laughing. I saw him, it must have been 1976 at the Edinburgh Festival in a tiny, tiny room. In fact, I think it was the same tiny, tiny room. It held about 50 people that I saw Ian Dury in. He toured before his album came out. The New Boots and Panties album. Before that came out, he just released Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, back with Razzle in My Pocket.
Disgusting.
About him nicking a naughty magazine. Rude. But I think it may have even been the same year, or maybe I saw Jasper Carrot the year before. It might have been 75, something like that. Oh, he was so funny. I mean, I was actually in pain. You know when you laugh so much that you get a stitch and you can't actually catch your breath and it physically hurts? Well, I was doubled up so much, and he just kept adding to the funny and it was funny on top of funny on top of funny, and I just fell off my chair. It's the only time that's ever happened to me. 0345 6060 973. Rabia tweets, I vote this show gets renamed to Now Hang About Nick. That last caller was excellent. He was, he had a lot of wind behind him.
I know a lot about wind. Here's
a call in Enfield. Hello, David.
Good evening, Nick. How are you?
Great, mate.
Yes, I think you're being a bit harsh on Boris Johnson.
Oh, really?
Because I think he's put together a brilliant cabinet. And, the star appointment for me is Liz Truss.
Yeah. I don't know whether you're trolling me or not. I can't tell anymore.
This is a woman of incredible talent. She entered Parliament in 2010, prior to which she was at the Reform right-wing think tank for 10 years. She then became in 2012 an Under Secretary of State for Education. Then she was promoted in 2014 to the Secretary of State for Environment. Then she became, in 2016, the very first female Lord Chancellor and Secretary of State for Justice the country's ever had.
Yeah, are you reading her Wikipedia entry?
Sorry?
Are you just reading her Wikipedia entry?
No, I want to make a point here.
Can't wait till we get there. Go on.
She was in that for 11 months. Then she became Chief Secretary to the Treasury, 2017, and now she's been appointed Secretary of State for International Trade and President of the World Trade. My point is that this must be one of the most talented politicians in the whole world, because I ran a major business for 20 years, and if I had somebody who had that intellectual ability and experience of all those technical fields, I'd feel extremely blessed. And then I looked at her qualifications, and she qualified as a management accountant.
Right. Well, that's about right.
So all I'm trying to say is, you see, the problem with this Conservative government in the last 10 years, it's just been basically a ministerial merry-go-round. And all these people have been put in positions that they're not capable of functioning in.
Well, that's the nature of politics, isn't it? You're in charge of health one day, and then the next day you're in charge of Northern Ireland, or the roads, or the military.
We wonder why nothing gets done, and there's no consistent policies in all these key areas. Since 2010, we've had 9 housing ministers. 9 housing ministers. So no wonder we have things like Grenfell happening, because nobody's looking at building regulations, fire safety. So it's unbelievable.
Well, that particular thing is unbelievable. Somebody at one time thought it was a good idea to clad buildings in flammable material. I mean, even I, who know nothing, can tell you that that's not a good idea.
Yes, but there was a fire at Latinal House a few years ago, and the coroner report pointed out the dangers of this cladding, because some of that cladding was on that building. And he wrote to several of these housing ministers and advised them that they should take steps to replace the cladding.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that the reason that they didn't want to listen to that is because of it's all about the money, honey. It just costs too much. It's like planes. Yeah, am I imagining it, or did a couple of decades ago now? It must be. There was a program on television, a documentary on TV about, I think it was maybe mylar is not the right word. It was some coating of wires that are in planes, or were at the time, and they wear apart. They wear away. The coating of the wires wears away, and the internal wires then short, and the planes drop out the sky, which is probably not the best result if you were a passenger on that plane. And I think it was Panorama or some serious program like this. And the problem with replacing it is that there's miles and miles and miles of wires in a plane. You basically have to take the entire plane apart in order to replace these wires, which was financially crippling to the airlines. And so what they did was nothing. They just crossed their fingers and hoped for the best, so that the planes would eventually go out of service for being too old, and then they'd sell them to, I don't know, a Russian airline or some African airline, and be shot of them, and then buy new planes and make sure that their wires didn't get crossed.
But David Cameron was committed, in his own words, when he came into power in 2010, to a bonfire of regulations, and Grenfell was the ultimate bonfire in regulation.
Right. Well, let's not make jokes about it, David.
No, it's not a joke. I'm serious. That's not a joke. That's not a joke.
Okay.
Because they were well aware there was a fire at Latinal House.
All right. Well, let's. I don't really want to get into all that because it's way too serious for this dog and pony show. But I take your point. What was your point? Oh, I'm being too hard on the cabinet because Liz Truss is an expert on something. We're not sure, but bound to be on something. We'll keep moving her around until we find her region of expertise.
I'm saying this tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
her great contribution was a speech she made at the Conservative Party conference in 2015. She made a great speech on cheese.
Cheese? Well, I like cheese.
It comes under Truss's greatest comedy hit.
And of course, the good news just keeps on coming and coming, because Gavin Williamson is going to be part of our new leaders troupe.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's like the remake of Dad's Army, ain't it?
One of my friend's daughters, I showed her a picture of Jacob Rees-Mogg in his top hat. And this little girl is 8, and she says to me, "Uncle David, is he an undertaker?"
Yeah, exactly right.
I said, "Not yet, but he might be burying somebody in the future."
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, he looks like he should be on the front of a game of Monopoly.
I explained to her that he was Charles Dickens' great nephew, who's just written a very good guide to grammar.
Yeah. I'll wait till the video comes out. All right, thanks a lot, David. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 12:30, the news headlines with Andy Ivey.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Here are the studio calls flashing up on the indicator.
And here's a call in Beverley, East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Did you realise that Boris has appointed Captain Mannering as the leader of the House of Commons?
Well, Private Pike is more his profile. Captain Mannering is a bit more rotund, whereas Pike just goes straight up and down.
Well, if you listen to Nick Ferrari's interview with Uncle Jacob on the morning about 9:45,
yeah,
he was asked whether the European Union's description of one of our politicians as Corporal Jones applied to him. He said, "No, I'm not Corporal Jones. I regard myself as Captain Mannering."
See, now I would have thought that he would regard himself as who's the posh sidekick, the guy who was actually the sensible one.
You would have thought that, yeah.
What was the guy's name? It was Ian Le Mesurier. Yeah. Well, what was his character's name?
But he didn't. But the interesting thing about this is if you look at the Dad's Army website, their fan club describes Captain Mannering as an arrogant, pompous snob.
Yeah, well, that's his character. Yeah, an arrogant, pompous snob. Yeah.
And Jacob referred it to himself as being like Captain Mannering.
Right.
Which is absolutely wonderful. But the other thing, on a more serious note to say about Boris, is that what he's doing is absolutely genius when you think about it. Because he's saying, yes, definitely Brexit, October 31st, we're out. So he's appealing to all that side of the country. On the other hand, he's now saying 39 million for a northern super rail, high speed 3 between Leeds and Manchester.
Yeah.
Which there is no plan for. There is no...
Well, there's no money for.
Nobody has actually talked about this.
Well, no, they have. George Osborne promised this a long while ago. Everything that pretty much everything that Boris Johnson has now promised has been previously promised and not delivered by a Conservative government.
Exactly. So what he's doing is promising all this spending to attract one side of the country.
Yeah.
Promising Brexit to appeal to the other side of the country.
Mm-hmm.
He is appealing to everybody. Absolute genius. Whether he can deliver it or not is absolute.
Well, it don't make no difference, because when he isn't able to deliver all of his promises, then he'll just say that it's the gloomsters have won and the evil EU were working against me, and the civil service who weren't towing the line, and there'll be some excuse he'll come out with. It weren't my fault. I ain't done nothing. It'll be the Bart Simpson defence.
Absolutely brilliant, and that in today's world appears to be what wins the argument, which is quite horrific.
Yeah. somebody else's fault, not mine. I was doing my best.
Absolutely. Blame him. Look over there. It's his fault.
Well, it's probably your fault, Mike. You seriously want to check yourself. Okay, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Sergeant Wilson, that's right. Sergeant Wilson. He was the smart one who didn't have much to say, apart from, do you think that's wise? To which the answer was always
no.
But they went ahead and did it anyway. Alex tweets, 20 quid for an outfit. This is the Fortnite game. If you are an old person, as in above, shall we say, 15, then you will probably, like me, have got no idea what Fortnite is. But it's a video game that you can apparently win £35 million for playing. What? That's true, isn't it? Aren't they giving away £35 million? I still have no idea what it is. But apparently you have your own cartoon image, an avatar, which you can dress up for the small amount of £20 by gifting that amount to the makers of this game. Now, to be clear, you don't actually get the clothes. They just fit them on your cartoon character in the game for £20. Which is just stunning to me. But anyway, on that subject, Alex tweets, 20 quid for an outfit. But if you played the game and had fun for, say, 30 hours, surely that's a bargain and something you can support as a player, since it is otherwise free to play. It's an outlet. Where else can you dress up as a chicken and have fun? Where else can you dress up as a chicken and have fun? Well, that's a good point. Dave says, I think we have the lead caller on the Nick Abbott Habit next week. Presumably that nice fellow that I was talking to some moments ago, who said that France has stolen our farms, or something like that. And that was the precise thought that I had at that time. I thought, this guy is a star, and he's going to be on the podcast. Not this Monday, because I've already done that one, but there'll be another one coming out Monday. And the one that's up there at the moment is a right hoot. I think you'll enjoy it. If you like this, then it is an extreme version of this show. It's like the best of. It's called the Nick Abbott Habit. You can get it on the internet. Have you seen the internet? Oh, the stuff you'll see on there.
Disgusting.
It's available on an internet near you, no doubt. Point your computer at it and ask for the Nick Abbott Habit, and it will find it almost immediately. You can also get it on apps. Apps, baby. If you download Global Player from your app store, then not only can you listen to this station and all of the others that Global do, and they're so numerous that I couldn't name them all in a short 3-hour show. But there's so much on there, it just blows my mind. And in amongst them, just dozens and dozens, endless numbers, in fact, of podcasts. In among them, you'll find mine if you look really, really hard. It's on the Global Original Podcast section, and if you scroll way over to the right, then you'll find it there. They've put it behind a locked door in a darkened room under a pile of blankets, so it's easier to find. Ask for it by name, the Nick Abbott Habit. I think you'll like it. Let's have a call in Clitheroe. Hello, Gordon.
Hello.
Gordon.
No, evening, Nick. It doesn't matter whether we come out of the EU or not. We're stunk on this 2050 zero carbon pledge.
The what?
2050 zero carbon pledge. It looks like Boris Johnson's going to keep going with it. So
what's a 2050 zero Corbyn pledge?
Carbon.
Oh, carbon.
Have you not been listening to what's going on?
Zero carbon emissions by 2050, right.
Yeah, well, last time we were losing industry when the road fuel tax escalator on. I don't remember it, 1990s. Half at north of England closed down.
Did it?
Because of the price of fuel.
Right.
And if they put road fuel tax escalator back on, it'll finish off a lot what's just hanging on at the moment.
Well, you'd think that by 2050, which is it's about 60 years away, something like that, then
Well,
we would have invented... please don't correct my maths. I think you'll find that is right. 60 years. I think there'll probably be something invented by then. I mean, they will have got battery technology fixed by then, surely.
Yeah, but you've got to charge your batteries up before you do it. And other week I spotted an article about Tesla cars.
Yeah.
To make one Tesla battery, it uses as much CO2 as driving a diesel for 8 years. I think a Nissan Leaf comes out at 5 years, so if batteries don't last that long, which they don't, you're going to use more CO2 building batteries than what you're going to save.
But based on what, though? Hang on a minute, though. How do they work that out? Do they work it out as...
Manufacturing costs.
Huh?
Manufacturing.
Yes, but hang on a
car.
minute. You say that it costs. They expend as much CO2 as driving a diesel for 8 years, but based on what assumption that they make battery power, or they make batteries rather using carbon fuel methods?
Yeah.
Well, maybe what if they made it with wind power?
You can't do it with wind power. You've got to use carbon for a lot of things like steelworks. You can't make steel without coal. It's got to a stage now. We've got a local cement works here, and they're struggling to find slag from steelworks and fly ash from power stations to mix in with cement to make it stronger.
Well, it'd be a good idea if we invented something that wasn't cement, because cement's one of the most ruinous things that man has invented.
Well, no, but I mean, you need cement to build stuff, and I mean, a wind
at the moment, yes, but
ton of cement in it.
But wouldn't it be a good idea if we made stuff with something else?
You can't make it with something else. What else are you going to make it with? You've still got to use heat, and you've still got to use carbon-based fuel to transport it.
Well, no, you don't, because that's the whole point. That's the whole point of battery power. You don't use carbon-based fuel.
It's not going to happen. It's all bluster.
Oh, don't be daft, Gordon. 100 years ago, people had no concept that... well, actually, I was going to say that no concept of battery-powered cars, but that's actually not true.
No,
100 years ago...
cars were here before petrol.
Yeah, they were, yeah. Well, not before petrol, but at the same time. I'm not sure
the
about
electric cars before they had petrol.
Right.
And they started using petrol because it was cheaper and longer range, but they have to do something about pollution from all horsemen in the streets.
Oh, the smell of it.
But no, it's a green economy. If you're going to have a green economy, you've got to make stuff to last a lifetime. It's no good recycling it. You need fuel to recycle it. We used to.
Yes, but what if the fuel comes from a reusable source, like the sun?
It can't do.
What do you mean it can't do? It already does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. What do you call solar power, Gordon?
It only looks good at middle at night when there's no gas-fired power stations on. And that's when they say it's doing 30% or whatever. But no, it's not.
Oh God, Gordon! Jeez, people talk about me as being a gloomster. God, I'm depressed. I've only been talking to you for about 5 minutes. Jeez. Wind power is not carbon-based, and neither is solar power. These are reusable. That's the future, baby. Get used to it. God, cheer up, mate. Bill tweets, "We need hemp." Now, what do you mean by that? You can make a lot with hemp, but that's probably not what you meant.
Want to score some pot?
0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Don't forget about wind power.
I know a lot about wind.
LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
This says, in Fortnite, the game, you can get an outfit for £3.99, but some people spend, get ready, grip onto something firm, some people spend £400. What do you get for £400? Because remember, it doesn't actually exist. The outfit you buy in Fortnite, the video game, to stick on your cartoon self doesn't actually exist in real life. 400 quid. Mansour says, I think Boris Johnson doesn't care about Brexit. From a few days in office and from his speeches after becoming PM, he's promoting all sorts of plans like trains and NHS funding and more police, etc., but nothing about Brexit. Feels like he's campaigning for a general election rather than planning to leave the EU at the end of October. Do you think so, says Mansour. Yes, I do. That's what it looks like to me. Off on his travels, here, there and everywhere, baby. He's off to kiss and make up with Scotland. Anybody in Scotland want to see him?
No.
Simon emails. You don't expect us to buy that asteroid story, do you? This Remainer project fear must stop now. No one believes that Brexit will be the end of the world anymore. Peter the Remainer cried wolf too often. 40,000 miles away? Yeah, right. No, I read that today. That's really alarming. Because our astrologists they think that they've got it all covered. They think that they know all of the rocks in the sky and where they're going and where they've come from, and whether they're going to miss us or not. And this one just came, literally out of nowhere. And they didn't know it was here until it was passed. It was what they call a city killer asteroid, as in big enough to level any city you like. And even if it hit the water, which is, of course, statistically speaking, is quite likely to do on this blue planet of ours, then it would still create a tidal wave that would wash away, well, let's hope it washes away one of Donald Trump's golf courses.
Oh, shut up!
Wouldn't that be nice? 40,000 miles away, apparently. And they didn't know it was coming, and they had no clue it even existed. But they did release a statement afterwards that said, Chris says, you asked for names worse than Johnson and Trump to be in charge. Here's one we have already, Dominic Cummings. He's the man who's really in charge with his hand up bozo buffoon puppet. His hand up the bozo buffoon puppet. And Neil tweets, have you tried double tapping your caller screen instead of having to smash 10 bells out of it? I'm just trying to help. Yeah, well, we don't need your help, Neil. We have trained experts here on hand. Let's have a call in Nairn. Nigel.
Yes. I would like to say that I support Boris Johnson. I also support Donald Trump. And I want to see the United Kingdom work together to succeed. I worked in Europe. I remember working for Anton Robo in Munich. And when they had broadside, which is what we call tea break, but they don't have tea, they have beer instead and black bread and stuff. I was asked this question, why you come to Germany to work? So I said, well, nice place, nice people, interesting kind of place, interested to hear something new. And guess what the reply was? So, who has won the war? Well, I wondered what to reply, so I thought I need to keep the job because I was sleeping rough in the English garden, etc. And I had a friend who worked with me who was black, from Nigeria. He said, Niger, the German don't give me the job because I'm a black. I said, we'll go and we'll pray to the Lord in the church. We'll go out and we'll find a job, which we did.
Okay, all right. I think I've heard enough. Just keep on keeping on, Nigel, just not on this show. What on earth was that about? That was a rhetorical question. I don't want to know. Please don't tell me. So I'm trying to get rid of him, but of course the screen isn't working anymore. There it is. Brighton. Hello, Ian.
Hello.
Ian.
Hi, Nick.
Let's see if this one makes any sense. Yes, Ian.
Well, I hope so. I was listening to that geezer earlier, who bricklayer he said he was.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, I've worked over in Europe, and I'll tell you what, they treat their workers so much more better. It's completely different gravy.
Gravy?
Different gravy.
Right.
Completely different gravy.
Well, what do you mean they treat their workers more better?
Oh, so much better. Well, in this country, they treat their workers like worthless people.
Well, what do you mean by better? What better? How?
Lots of reasons.
More money, more breaks, more holidays. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, you get more money.
Right.
You get paid more.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have all this like half-hour tea breaks or half-hour this and all that money, all that clock watching. It's just everything's relaxed. You don't have, and everyone works together.
Well, which countries were you working in?
I've worked in Germany. I worked in Germany in the late 80s to early 90s.
Because it doesn't sound like a relaxed place to work,
it is,
Germany.
Mate, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, and I've worked in Sweden.
But what were you doing there?
I'm a brickie.
Oh, yeah, okay. You did mention that, yeah, bricklayer.
Right, yeah. And I was working over in Sweden. I worked over in Sweden for 2 years. And I worked in the Netherlands. And I tell you what, this country is the worst country I've ever worked in. And that's straight. Honestly.
But worst how? I mean, in what way?
Lots of ways. Completely different. They don't, you wouldn't believe the difference, how they treat you as a person on the continent.
Right, well, give me an example.
Okay then. Right, when I was over in Sweden, right, you have a Tarkglas Fest, right? Tarkglas Fest is when the flag goes up, when the roof goes on, right? They take you out on the lakes, because I was in Stockholm, you've got loads of lakes there. They give you a hamper. You have a drink with all your partners, all your workers.
This is the topping out ceremony.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So when you put the toppermost girder on a building, then you congratulate yourself that you've
Yeah, they thank you.
Right.
They thank you. You go out on a thing and they say, we'd like to say thank you. Müller is a bricklayer over in Metzlar is in Germany, and then Müller is Müller is Sweden, Metzlar is the Netherlands, and Müller is in Germany. Right.
Well, they all just sound like noises to me.
Well, yeah, they sound like noises to me as well. Nick. Don't worry about that.
It sounds like you've got some like a toothache, something like that. But those are actual places.
Straight. That's what they call bricklayers.
Right.
But all I'm saying, right, is that they treat their workers so much better over there. You wouldn't believe it.
Right. They every now and again they actually indicate that they appreciate your work. Dankeschön, they'll say, or whatever they say. What do they say in Sweden?
They say thank you.
Oh, right, because they speak English.
Yeah, they do. They say thank you with a...
Yeah,
I mean,
they speak English better than we do, I know.
Well, no, they speak it in Swedish, obviously. Tech, like, jag pratar lite svenska språk, inte så mycket. Right? So, they do thank you, and they treat you so much better.
Because that just sounded like, that to me, that sounded like... Yeah, it sounded foreign to me. I think you're speaking foreign at me, Ian.
Well, I know I am, but you know what I'm saying.
No,
what I'm saying is,
I've got no idea. It's foreign, no clue.
Oh.
But what you are, I think what you're telling me is that they treat you better over there.
Yes, definitely,
right,
yeah.
Okay, so why are you over here?
Well, because they've taken away my freedom of movement.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, there is that. Right, okay, listen, Ian, I've got to go. But thanks a lot. You are free to leave. Scott says, if once you've got onto something actually valid, regardless of left or right, how little tax, not just tech, but any of the big multinationals pay, 0 to 3%-ish. And no one in any party is wanting to address what is phenomenal state-supported wealth transfer from the public up into private bank accounts. That's where the money is going, not flowing around the economy. Correct, Amundo. Yeah, you remember George W. Bush? He used to bang on about trickle-down economics.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no such thing as trickle-down economics. It's trickle-up economics. From us to them. And that is what Donald Trump has picked the trade war about over with the France over. See? Swedish people speak better English than we do. They would have been able to put that better. And, of course, we have, last October, our Chancellor at the time said that we were going to enact a similar policy, a slightly less stringent one. They wouldn't feel it at all. The tech giants would not feel 2% of their turnover at all. And when Donald Trump finds out about it, it's going to be hell to pay. I think he'll probably say,
I'll bring us into war.
Yeah. There goes the special relationship, particularly if he ever finds out what Boris Johnson said about him.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind.
What happens between now and next Friday at 10 p.m.? Well, it just blows my mind. In the meantime, don't forget that the podcast is available, the Nick Abbott Habit. Look for it on an internet near you. If you stick around, Steve Allen will set you straight at 5. But right now, it's Richard Spur.